and then all of a sudden, here you have. Now, what's the difference between required and optional?
I'm assuming like they can choose if they want to come or not, but required is like they're coming.
Yeah, they're really these people need to be here. Like like if Jackie's not here and John isn't here, then this meeting can't occur. Okay,
Yeah.
but the optional people are just that. They're purely
Yeah.
optional. They don't have to necessarily attend if they don't want to. So this is a polite way of letting the people know that you're inviting to the meeting, what their status is, because maybe it's a major player in the organization, and then you're like, well, I just want you to be aware of what's going on. So that's where you want to use the optional.
Right.
And also, what's nice about it too is this is where when you start inviting other people, you may want to make sure that it shows as busy, or you may want to show it as out of office. You may want to change what this setting is so that people who are attending that, maybe you're meeting at a lunch, right? So maybe you may want to flag it as out of the office, because you aren't in the office, because you're going to be meeting at a restaurant. And then anybody else that accepts that's using Teams or Outlook or other things that check your presence inside your Office 365 calendar, it will automatically denote that you're no longer in the office during that time frame. So pretty helpful.
Yeah.
So I'm going to invite Kaylee here, and there's Miss Floyd. And then I'm going to say optional is going to be Jaxie. And I don't want it to be all day. Yeah, I don't want it to be all day. I want it to be.
I will not accept a meeting if you invite me at 4 a.m.
Come on, girl, get up. Now you have locations. So locations are really helpful in these things, because it will actually start to try to find it on a map, right? So let's say Blue Pacific Drive. See, it's actually finding it in the address.
Wow.
Let's say that I'm going to do this, right? So why would you want that?
Landscape curbing.
Yeah, I have no idea.
Well, I would assume if we're going somewhere that we need to know where we're going. So it shows it to the other attendees.
How many times have you gone to hop in the car and you go, okay, I'm going to this meeting now, and you're like, ah, snap. Where is it again? You're like, I'm so good. I have left the building on time, and I have no idea where I'm going.
I have no clue where I'm going.
It's super frustrating.
Yeah.
So having that location information on the meeting that you're doing is helpful, because then you can just open your phone and just click the link, and it'll just take you right there on Google and start directing you immediately, which is really nice. Also, if you do this, Outlook and other devices can now track the time that you need to leave in advance. So if you have some more advanced features in your email, it'll let you know, hey, you probably need to leave now. I have a warning in 30 minutes, but it's going to be actually a 45-minute drive.
Yeah, iPhone is so good with that. If you have your email connected to your iPhone, it will literally ding you and say, hey, you need to leave now if you want to make it in time.
Yeah. So that's really helpful. Whoa. And it's doing that because you put the location information in there. So having that is helpful. Okay. A lot of people just go, pish posh, which is an Irish term. My mother-in-law is Irish. So anyhow, also, what is this room finder? What's that about?
Oh, is that Teams?
Yeah, that is. Yeah,
they added that.
So you can do like a room finder in here. See, in our organization, we don't have any rooms, but maybe in your organization, you have a conference room that uses a Teams meeting device. Some of our clients have that. And so then what you can do is you can pick that room, and it'll automatically invite it.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, so it'll make it part there. So then when you walk into that room, it's already listed as an appointment that it's expected to be attending in that room. And then you can just say, hey, I'm going to join it. Boom. Everybody's on the Teams meeting at that point, if you're doing that. Okay, so that brings us to Teams. But before I do that, I do want to say, how would you create a new meeting without converting it? So I just want to show you that right now. So what you would do is you would just click on the appointment here, the date that you want to do it, and you would just say new meeting right here. And it's the same thing that we just talked about. It looks identical,
Right. You're just bringing that up first instead of the new appointment.
It's more efficient. Now, what about here? So now I'm looking at a month view. Some people don't like that. Some people want to say, I'd rather see more detailed information carried over just 1 week.
Right.
Okay? So that's what these are here. So you can change your view. You can say, I just want to see the information for the week. And then over here, I can click on that week for it to show the information that we're doing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then here's that reoccurring event that I did for the webinar. Okay. Now let's say that you made a mistake and on your reoccurring, right? And you're like, I want to remove it for just this one or the entire series. That's what this is for.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe you're like, well, just this one for Wednesdays is not going to happen. So I want to edit just this one. So I could come in here and I could go in and I could say, I want to delete this one. Right. Now, if you had other people invited to this, it would notify them. Hey.
Yeah, it would say, remove this.
Do you want to remove this for them? And we'll say, yep, let's do that. But for just this one. Now, notice the reoccurrences are still there for the subsequent events. See, they're still there. I didn't whack them all. But let's say that I don't like them at all and I want it to go away. I could just double click and say entire series and then say okay. And then when I do that, then I have the ability to just delete it for the entire reoccurrence. Okay. Pro tip here. Reoccurrence events are super annoying if you don't really know what you're doing and you'd have to send it like 4 times to people. They will want to strangle you, okay? And people get really nervous when they're setting up a reoccurring event. So, maybe it is a company luncheon that you do on a regular basis and you're not quite sure how to do events. Pro tip, here's what you do. Go ahead and make it an appointment first, okay? And you can set it up here and you can say test and you're going to say it's, make it reoccurring and you can say I'm going to do it on Friday. Let's just go with this and we'll say, okay. Notice I still can do, I can save and close, right? I can still come in here and say the entire series and I can still invite people. Why would I do it that way?
Maybe you didn't want to invite them at first to the reoccurring?
Because you want to make sure that your reoccurring isn't jacked up as you're doing it. It's really important. Maybe you're going to be sending it to the whole company as a whole.
Right. You want to make sure it shows up correctly.
Yeah. So go ahead and make it, change the busy settings, get it just the way you like, right? And maybe you're going to be adding a Teams bridge, right? That other people are going to be joining and you want to get that in there and make sure it all looks the right way. Maybe you want to have some formatting of the wording, the way it's going to show in the notes as it appears, things like that. Once you feel like you've got it right, then you can invite everybody else, and then they're all going to get the invite for that reoccurrence that you've scheduled.
Right.
So that way, if you're like, oh, dadgummit, it's for 9 a.m. instead of 9 p.m., you can look at that.
Mm-hmm.
And you could even invite someone else just to make sure. I'm not saying you do this for everyone. If you're pretty savvy about doing reoccurring events, just go for it. But
yeah,
if it's really critical and you're just a little nervous about doing it, especially since this is one for beginners or people that are just trying to increase their efficiency with Outlook, this is a good way to do it to be safe. So you just go ahead, set it up, make sure it's just right, then go ahead and invite everybody that you want to do. Very helpful. Also, sometimes what people do is they'll attach notes to those specific meetings as they come up. That's another pro tip. So what you can do is you could have a reoccurring meeting, right? And you don't have the notes for that specific meeting until maybe a few days before. So in that situation, let's say it's this few days before the event, you would click on it, you say just this one, right? Because you're only adding the notes for just this occurring event that is going to be happening. Let's say it's a board meeting or something along those lines that 6 people are attending. You would say just this one. It opens up, and then you could paste the notes in here and hit save and close. It will say, hey, do you want to notify them of the new updates that you did for this? And you're like, yes, let's do that. Because you said just this one, it's only going to update that meeting. So that's really nice because that way you can, as you get closer to the main event, they can have more detailed information about what you're going to be talking about. And you're just leveraging the flow of Outlook. And if you're not sure how to do it, you can set up one to test with for a little bit. Once you feel a little more comfortable, then you can send it out to the masses. So